Yeah, just go to speaker view, right?
Good evening, everyone. This is Larry Jacobs, Bedminster Township Mayor. We've got our January 19th, 2021 regular Township Committee meeting, and I will recognize that we have full attendance by the Township Committee. Committeeman Hickey and Committeewoman Moreski are here with me in Town Hall. Committeeman Stevenson and Committeewoman Fernandez are participating by Zoom. And so is our town attorney, Melissa Riley, is also attending by Zoom. Ms. Sullivan, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I put notice of this meeting sent to 30 News Somerville. This resolution is due with me to all subscribers and was posted here at the Township Municipal Building on January 7th, 2021.
Okay, thank you. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. If you don't have a flag, we've got one right over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are you pulling me?
Yeah, I got a little too fast there. Before we get into meetings, just as I've been doing for many months now, a quick update on the COVID numbers. And this is off the Somerset County website. As of today, Bedminster is reported as having 239 confirmed cases and 5 fatalities. As for those of you who've been following, the fatality count was at 4, was at 5, went back to 4, back to 5, was at 4 for a long time, came back to 5. In previous discussions with Dr. Namitha Reddy at the Somerset County Department of Health, she explained often that is because there sometimes is a lag and a reassessment of fatalities by the state laboratory and the federal laboratories. So sometimes there may be a death that's attributed to COVID, and it may later be determined not to be COVID-related fatality. But let's just focus on the 239 confirmed cases. For those of, once again, for many months we were holding steady 1 or 2 cases a week. Sometimes it went a week and 2 weeks without having any new confirmed cases. But as soon as autumn came around and now we're in the heart of winter, the cases are coming in regularly. 2, 3, 4, sometimes 6 or 7 reported in a day. And these are, once again, these are laboratory confirmed cases. So these do not count the rapid test positive results. These are only the laboratory, it's called PCR confirmed cases. So we know that COVID is here and the numbers are growing, and I would still say that those 239 confirmed cases are probably low because they don't count for those who have had it and haven't had tests, or those who have had confirmed rapid test results. So COVID is here. Once again, as we've been saying, every township committee member has been saying, social distance, wear your mask, wash your hands, and until the vaccine is widespread and available to everyone, those are the best methods we have for controlling exposure to the virus. There's a couple other things I want to talk about before we head into the meeting. Our next meeting, February 1st, we will have a presentation by Marilyn Davis from Altice. Altice is the former Cablevision, and for those residents who rely on Altice for their internet or TV cable services, you might know it as Optimum. A lot of you have had issues with your service, interruptions, sporadic service, no service, bad equipment. Customer relations issues. Marilyn Davis is here to talk about what Altice is doing to improve the optimum service, and will be available to take questions from the public. So we will have a special session. We'll probably kick that off with the beginning of the meeting so that we can head right to that and let Ms. Davis go when she's done, and all those public members who are going to show up for Ms. Davis. Anyone wants to stick around for the rest of the meeting, they're more than welcome to do so. But we will be doing that, and both Committeeman Hickey and I had a previous conversation with Ms. Davis last week, told her about what sort of questions and how we had done this with JCP&L. And in the end, it actually resulted in improved service for the Bedminster residents, reduced outages, and also I think fostered a better relationship and dialogue between the residents and JCP&L. They know that if there's an issue, they know what to do and they know who to contact. So hopefully we can have some similar success with folks who have problems with their Optimum, both internet and cable. So that's for February 1st. So the last time we had our meeting was our reorganization. A couple days after reorganization, there was incidents down in Washington, D.C., which resulted in a number of folks storming the Capitol building. And that was following a Trump rally discussing the continued questions and legitimacy of the presidential campaign. And so a couple things resulted from that. One of the things that resulted in, and frankly, from my perspective, I was anticipating this as soon as I heard about it, was the PGA pulling the 2022 PGA Championship from Bedminster, from the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster. We had just started the discussions with the PGA in preparations and logistics for the 2022 event. And, here we are in early 2021, but certainly the Trump golf course was already taking steps for the last couple of years to get ready for that event. And the next step was the PGA going to take the logistics that it needed to take to get ready for that event. So that is a months and months and months with advanced teams and construction crews and electricians and plumbers and carpenters and all the work that comes with getting that course ready for any golf championship, let alone something as significant as the PGA. There would have been host benefits that Bedminster would have enjoyed. And there would have been some, problems, right? There would have been, possibly traffic issues, where they're going to put all the cars. Ultimately, I believe that probably most of the traffic issues were not going to be in Bedminster. And I think very few parking opportunities were going to present themselves in Bedminster. Similarly, I don't think that a lot of the hospitality benefits were going to be enjoyed here in Bedminster. We've got some restaurants, but we don't have hotels. So I think a lot of those benefits would have gone to our neighboring towns. I think Bridgewater, Bernard's Township, Branchburg, lots of hotels, Somerville, sort of a vibrant downtown. I think there would have been significant benefits to those towns. I think a lot of our residents would have had employment opportunities with the PGA, perhaps only on a temporary basis, perhaps a little bit more so. But those opportunities are gone. And because of the golf course and its presence in Bedminster, a lot of questions come back to Bedminster about the events down in Washington. And, I felt it appropriate to issue a statement from me, not from the Township Committee, but from me as mayor. And we posted that statement last night. I'd like to just, as we start the meeting off, I'm going to read a statement and then I'll go around the room and the Zoom meeting for Township Committee comments if they want to reflect upon those events as well. So my statement is already on the Township website and Township Facebook page, but you'll just bear me the few minutes to just walk through this. During the January 4th Bedminster reorganization meeting, I took the oath of office as mayor for Bedminster Township, the same oath that is administered to elected Township Committee members and to all the volunteers serving on our boards and committees. The oath includes the following pledges. I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of New Jersey. I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people. 2 days later, on Wednesday, January 6th, a rally protesting the results of the presidential election devolved into a mob that stormed the Capitol building, resulting in multiple deaths. One of those who died was a Capitol police officer who sustained fatal injuries while defending the Capitol. He was a New Jersey native and military veteran. He was 42 years old. The Constitution establishes the process by which Americans select our presidents. The opportunity to challenge the electoral process and the results lies within our court system. Rallies and protests demanding that Congress repudiate the election are protected under the First Amendment's rights of freedom of speech and of the people to peaceably assemble. When those efforts become violent, they are no longer constitutionally protected speech, but are criminal actions, and the perpetrators should be treated accordingly. The Constitution remains the touchstone for how we run our governments, including local government. The Trump family owns and operates a world-class golf club in Bedminster. Trump National Golf Club has the right to apply to Bedminster for permits and approvals. As always, those applications will be considered on their merits and in accordance with the municipal land use law. Whether President Trump's words or actions rise to the level of incitement is a pending legal matter for the Senate and perhaps ultimately for the Supreme Court. Bedminster has no jurisdiction in those proceedings. Regardless of the impeachment outcome, Trump National remains entitled to fair proceedings here in Bedminster. The Bedminster Township Committee and Land Use Board are not appropriate forums for defending or prosecuting the president's actions or words. The Bedminster Township Committee will continue to make its decisions based on what is best for Bedminster. During my time on Township Committee, we have avoided symbolic resolutions that do nothing to promote Bedminster's interests. Our focus should remain squarely on Bedminster and our residents and not on pushing any extraneous political agenda. This statement was posted on the Bedminster website on January 18, 2021, Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Dr. King was successful in implementing transformative civil rights policies through nonviolent protests and employing words of love over the rhetoric of hate. For all those seeking change in our national discourse, regardless of party affiliation, there is no better model than Dr. King. As recited in our oaths, we support the Constitution and bear allegiance to the governments established under the authority of the people. On January 20, 2021, the United States will have a new president and vice president. As Bedminster Mayor, I wish Joe Biden and Kamala Harris success in their positions. So that's the statement I posted last night. Committeeman Stevenson. Want to take yourself off mute if you have a statement you'd like to read?
Oh, I have that.
Oh, you've got to be, there you go.
Am I off? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. For those of you who know me, I tend to just sort of speak off the cuff, but I thought that the subject matter in anticipation that this might come up, I did actually prepare something. So like the mayor, please bear with me, folks, as as I make my way through this, because words matter, and thought it was appropriate here to not go and wing it, if you will. Yesterday, we all honored the life and teachings of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I made a point to spend some time reading about Dr. King and the virtues he so eloquently espoused and the change he so righteously sought to achieve. Despite passing away 3 years before I was even born, Dr. King's messages and words of inspiration resonate as if he were alive today. Dr. King demanded change. He insisted that those without a voice be heard. But through it all, he conducted himself with grace and preached and pled for peace, love, forgiveness, and kindness. He rejected the use of violence in the most certain of terms. I realize that some out there may not have social media accounts and that many others do not follow me on Facebook and therefore are unaware of my post earlier this month denouncing the events of January 6th and the storming of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. So let me state this as plainly as I can here. The individuals who made the colossally stupid decision to storm the Capitol building committed one or more criminal acts. They should be identified, prosecuted, and punished accordingly. Period. End of story. I believe deeply in our governmental system of checks and balances and reject in the strongest of words any attempt to overthrow or thwart the conducting of official governmental business. The reality here is that most federal issues do not affect us here in Bedminster any more or less than they would a resident of Bridgewater or Topeka, Kansas. I therefore tend to defer comment on those issues and instead focus my efforts to the Township of Bedminster. However, for me, the events of January 6th, 2021 were different. Before we splinter off as self-declared Republicans, Democrats, Independents, or something in between, we're all Americans first and foremost. In America, we hold elections at regular and systematic intervals. We have rules about who is eligible to run for office and a system in place by and among the states to conduct the electoral process. In every election, there's a winner, there's a loser. The power to decide our leaders rests solely and squarely where it should, and that's with the people. I, for one, am proud to be an American, and I'm equally proud of the role America has served as the world's beacon for freedom, liberty, and democracy for the past 200 plus years. The events at the Capitol this month tarnished the American brand, and therefore each and every one of us got dinged. I submit that the perpetrators who attacked the Capitol and caused all of the resulting mayhem, just because they didn't like the results of the election, exhibited none of the virtues espoused by Dr. King. I ask you, my friends and neighbors, join me in wishing President-elect Biden, Vice President-elect Harris, and their administration much success as we all move on from a brutally difficult 2020. I hope that we can all remember and be guided by the teachings of Dr. King, not just today, but as we live out our lives. In that regard, I personally look forward to turning my focus back to local issues here in Bedminster and continuing to deliver good, efficient governmental services to all our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Gina, Committeewoman Fernandez, are you ready to go?
Yes. Am I unmuted?
You're ready to go.
Yes, I'm ready to go. Okay, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to make a statement condemning violence. Peaceful protests are protected by the Constitution of the United States through an individual's First Amendment rights of freedom of speech, peaceful assembly, and petitioning of the government concerning grievances. However, what began as a peaceful demonstration January 6th has been exploited by violent extremists who have carried out acts of violence, destruction of property, and additional loss of life. These acts of violence are considered criminal activity and take our focus as a country away from a safe and civil dialogue on issues of importance to our nation. I'd like to let it be known that as an elected official, I strongly condemn violence, riots, and looting of any sort in the United States. I recognize that violent opportunists use the cover of legitimate protests by their fellow citizens to sow chaos. I recognize that the actions of those bent on violence does not diminish the rights of other Americans to peacefully protest. I urge for peace and order to be restored, and I express that those responsible for these violent acts be held criminally responsible for their actions. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mayor. I usually have to follow Doug and Colin, so they usually cover everything for me. In this case, it was Doug, Gina, and you, Mayor. I agree with all of the things everyone has said. Dr. Martin Luther King is an amazing person that we should look up to and continue to follow his suggestions. I too condemn the violence that happened in the Capitol. We are allowed to peacefully protest, but when it devolves into violence, that's not allowed. I am just very happy that I work for the people of Bedminster. We do not have those issues here. We have had many instances over the last 3-4 years where people have come together to discuss different opinions, and we've done it peacefully, calmly, and always come to a good conclusion. So I look forward to the rest of my term doing the same kind of thing and working with this great committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Committeeman Hickey.
Mayor, thank you. First off, I want to thank you, Mayor, as well as my colleagues for their comments, which I'm in complete agreement with. You know, the internet and social media have created so many opportunities for society to connect with one another, but with the good comes the bad. No serious problem is ever resolved by a war of words on Facebook or a Twitter hashtag. Regardless of which side of the aisle you find yourself on, there are folks calling for your condemnation or for the cancellation of anything that doesn't agree with their own political agenda. A lot of this virtue signaling may make people feel good, but it doesn't address the real problems. Political theater is not the answer. People are sick and tired of the constant bickering and bashing that is standard operating procedure in Washington, D.C., but does nothing to help the people back here in Bedminster. As my Italian mother used to say, basta, enough. Mm-hmm. I am proud to serve in a township committee resolved to action, not words. In the face of a global pandemic last year, we took action, be it expanding the farmers market, operating a food pantry, issuing special use permits to help our businesses, and retooling our budgets and offering tax grace periods for our residents. Our job this year is to continue to focus on actions that deliver positive, tangible results to Bedminster. Among other things, we will continue to pursue actions that promote the health and well-being of our residents, the continued viability of our affordable housing program, the performance of our utilities, and as always, low taxes. We've been speaking a lot about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. One of the quotes that I love most is, he said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Mr. Rogers, yes, that Mr. Rogers reminded us to always look for the helpers. He said, you will always find people who are helping. The desire to serve the public is the reason why the 5 of us got into local government, and we witnessed shining examples of that same desire every day from the good folks right here in our own community. These are the people we look to emulate because their actions speak louder than any words we could ever say on this dais. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to my fellow colleagues.
Thank you, Colin. Moving on with the meeting, we have 5 minutes to approve. That's the December 21st, 2020 regular Township Committee meeting via Zoom. December 21, 2020 closed session meeting via Zoom. The December 29, 2020 end of year meeting via Zoom. The December 29 executive closed session meeting via Zoom. And the January 4th, 2021 reorganization meeting via Zoom. Are there any questions or comments regarding those minutes that have not otherwise already been provided to Ms. Sullivan? If there are none, may we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Permits and raffles, we have none. Public comments, this is the opportunity for public comment. If any member of the public wishes to make a comment, Now is the time to do so. If you are participating by Zoom, your opportunity is to go down to participants and click raise hand. If you are participating via a phone, dial *9, and that will let Ms. Sullivan know that you are waiting to make a public comment. I see none as well.
Oh, wait a minute, Doug Stevenson, that's his hand up, sorry.
Doug Stevenson has his hand up? Do we know where he lives? If your hand is up, you may, Ms. Sullivan will let you in. Identify yourself and your address. Oh,
Yeah.
Committeeman Stevenson's hand is down. Okay. We'll move on to monthly report discussions.
Hand is back up.
His hand is back up. Well, it's good because he's on next anyway. So Committeeman Stevenson, subcommittee report.
Does he have to unmute him?
We're working on it, Doug.
I'm trying, and I'm hitting the button.
Can you hit your, there you
That's why my hand was up. Every time I mute myself, I can't unmute myself. There's a connection, I think, that's off. Anywho, I don't have any updates, Mayor.
All right.
I'm gonna go back on mute, I guess.
You don't have to. Yeah, just
don't touch
Raise
it.
my hand, you can unmute me.
Don't talk.
don't touch. Leave it right there. Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, all. Just a couple quick updates. Our IT subcommittee is reviewing some alternatives for providing enhanced communications to our residents for both emergency and non-emergency information. So there will be more to follow that in subsequent meetings. Mayor and I have a library board meeting tomorrow night. So there'll be an update following that. We have a Board of Health meeting on Thursday. And as the mayor mentioned, there is some work with the utility subcommittee this year to look into cable and some of the performance issues there. And obviously the mayor mentioned the meeting for February 1st. So we're hopeful that all residents participate, share the issues they're having so we can get to work on that. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Committeewoman Reski.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to do a quick report on an interactive event that Colin and I participated in on Thursday, January 14th called Let's Go Electric. It's the second in a series discussing how to accelerate electric vehicle adoption in New Jersey. The program was hosted by RideWise, which is an organization in Somerset County that endeavors to lessen traffic congestion by working with major employers to establish things like carpools, van pools, shuttle bus services, and new transit routes. The event was attended by Somerset County municipal leaders and business owners. The group broke out into breakout groups, and my group focused on discussing the process a town might follow to set up EV charging stations. One of the attendees in my group outlined step by step the process they have followed and future steps they will be taking. I'm proud to say that in our 2019 Environmental Commission went through these steps already, and we have 6 stations already here at Town Hall. So I sat there and said nothing except to puff up my chest and say how great we were. Another group did discuss developing educational programs for car dealerships that sell electric vehicles as part of the support they're talking about to give prospective buyers that they might need when purchasing electric vehicles for the first time. RideWise currently has several links to resources for more information on its website if you would like some. More of these meetings are to be held. We'll report back with any information that will be useful in helping Bedminster move onto using electric vehicles. Colin, did I miss anything? Is there anything you want to pop in? Because you were in a different group than I was.
I was in a needs assessment group, but again, you've hit on it perfectly. They were looking at how do you assess whether or not there's a need in your community to put in charging stations. We're beyond that. So
We are. So once ahead, we're ahead of the curve.
it's a good thing.
Was there any discussion about purchasing vehicles?
No.
No.
My guess is that's a little farther down the line. So if anybody has questions for us, let me know and we can bring them to the next discussions because this is only part 2 and I'm sure they're going to keep going.
Okay, yeah, I think that, a legitimate question is the process for municipalities to purchase electric vehicles. We have the chargers, we have the charging stations here in Bedminster.
Yep.
And for those who may be listening out there or watching this later on, those charging stations were secured 100% through grants that we applied for. Thank you, Tim Walter and the 2019 Environmental Committee. We've looked at purchasing electric vehicles in the past couple of years, and my guess is we'll probably take another look this year. But it is interesting is that the grant program and the policy initiatives were lagging behind the state procurement process. And it certainly would be, I think, beneficial overall if we could see that procurement process rise up to the level of the grant process. They've got a policy that they want to push, make it easier for the towns to purchase those vehicles to the extent those vehicles are appropriate for municipal work.
Well, I guess it does make sense that you would want the infrastructure for the charging in place before the vehicles, but that has been in place for several years now with those grants. So it's time that they need to.
I think you're giving way too much credit to Trenton, and that's not that could be the Christie administration or any administration down in Trenton. Just be careful about giving Trenton too much credit.
All right. Well, it's time for us to get the cars.
Okay, agreed. So if next time you're meeting, or if you can give some advanced questions, I would do it on procurement.
We'll do.
Okay,
That's all I got.
that's it.
Thank you.
Committeewoman Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a quick update. I just once again want to congratulate Janine Obadzinski and Israel Melendez to their appointment to the Rec Advisory Committee. The Rec Advisory Committee is meeting as we speak. And hopefully they are finalizing the results of the survey that was sent out in the fall. And within the next meeting or two, we should be able to present the results to the committee. And that's all the updates I have for right now, Mayor.
That's great. Thank you. I'll report that since a reorganization, I've only really been in one meeting. That was the Land Use Board, which reorganized as they do. And congratulations to Chair Carol Gutschall and to Vice Chair Jeff Leonard, who are again taking the reins of the Bedminster Land Use Board and moving it forward. There was a second meeting in January, but there was nothing on schedule, so that was canceled. The next meeting is in the first week in February. And I believe there is an application that is a Board of Adjustment application. So Committeeman Hickey and I are not eligible to participate in that. And then the Land Use Board will be really focusing on implementing the zoning to accommodate the fair share housing settlement that Bedminster entered into a number of years ago. It's something that, I've talked about here and as has Committeeman Hickey. There's been a subcommittee that looked at alternatives. There was one alternative that rose to the top, and the Land Use Board has been pursuing that and is in a position to actually introduce perhaps a master plan amendment that would accommodate the zoning to satisfy the Bedminster obligations under the settlement agreement with fair share housing. So that will be later on in February. Farmers Market Committee has not met yet because we are waiting on two designees to come from environmental. So environmental needs to select its two reps to the Farmers Market Committee and the Rec Committee. So Gina, if you want to just make sure that they select the two reps that they want from Rec to sit on the Farmers Market Committee.
Yes, Mayor, they have selected them. I think they were just agreeing on it tonight. So I'll get those names to you.
Okay, we'll get those names to me and Judy, and then I don't know if we need to do a reso or anything along those lines.
The last resolution we did just had
Should be just right. Okay, so we can just update that. Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, which is our new committee, will be doing a resolution identifying the members of that committee later tonight. And once that resolution is passed, then the committee can meet. And we'll then have a meeting with CGP&H, the new administrative agent. And the way the program is going to work is that the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee will meet with CGP&H on a regular basis. They'll make recommendations, primarily, I'm going to say, on the Affordable Housing Spending Plan. Those recommendations will then be presented back to the Township Committee for adoption. There's a couple interim steps in the back and forth. It usually involves reaching out to Fair Share Housing to make sure that they have the opportunity to review and bless the spending plan. So some work ahead for the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. And while I'm on that same topic, BHHC. So last Tuesday, we held an information session with the BHHC attorney, Sal DeFazio, and with Heather Mahali from CGP&H. So CGP&H is the town's new Affordable Housing Administrative Agent, as I mentioned earlier. And Heather Mahali is our representative. Ms. Mahali is a former COA official down at DCA and certainly has tremendous expertise in the management of affordable housing programs in many towns on the consulting basis, but also certainly from the perspective of a regulator at DCA. So during that meeting, there's a couple things we learned. The first thing we learned is that our Zoom account only goes to 100 people. And we had more than 100 that were trying to participate in that program. So that meeting was recorded and is on the town website under the affordable housing category under government. So go to government, go to affordable housing, and you'll find the Zoom session recorded there. And after that, there will be a second one to accommodate those questions that may not have been answered. And also since that meeting, and actually as a result of that meeting, the attorney for Bedminster Hills Housing Corporation made some changes regarding the notice and declaratory judgment that he is pursuing to once again cement and reaffirm and make sure that it's in the title that there's a judgment. So anytime that there is a sale, a purchase and sale of a unit that is in the affordable housing program or has first come off the affordability restrictions, that everyone involved, the seller, the purchaser, the attorney for the purchaser, the attorney for the seller, the title company, banks, everyone else will know that there's a recapture fee obligation that must be paid the first time the unit comes off affordability restrictions. So that's the nature of the lawsuit. There were lots of questions, some very good ones. There were some irate people about, why did I get served? What do I have to do? And I do want to give, a good shout out here to Committeeman Stevenson, who, as an attorney, as a committeeman, and on the liaison to the BHHC until such time as BHHC is liquidated. And Doug certainly has experience in taking companies through that. So Doug was very instrumental in coordinating with Sal DeFazio and Heather Mahali and explaining some of the process for the many people that were asking questions. So once again, there will be a second opportunity for folks who didn't attend and for Mr. DeFazio to explain any changes that he may have made since that meeting. And also, as Mr. Hickey mentioned, library board tomorrow. So we will have some updates, more updates at the next meeting. Ms. Sullivan, may we please have the administrator's report?
I don't have much to report other than the fact that the CFO, assistant administrator, myself, and all the department heads have been working very hard on the 2021 budget. And we don't have all the numbers ready yet, but we're close. Our first budget meeting will be next Monday, January 25th, 7 o'clock, right here.
So one of the things that I'd asked Ms. Sullivan before the meeting started, and just to take a quick, get the pulse of the Township Committee, even during early COVID, those February, March meetings, we met in person. Budget, we're going to be going through numbers, we're going to be looking at spreadsheets, we're going to be changing spreadsheets. It could be accomplished via Zoom. In my opinion, it would be better off as an in-person meeting. So let me start with Committeewoman Fernandez. Your thoughts on having that budget meeting in person or Zoom?
Well, I definitely think it'll be more efficient if we have it in person because you're like, oh, flip to this page, flip to that page. Oh, I'm looking at the blue page. You know what I mean? And it's like to be in the same room is probably more efficient. However, since we do have different groups that come in, the fire department, police department, I don't know what their comfort level is on coming into a room with all of us. Maybe we'll have to sit in the bigger room, like that room that you're in right now, as opposed to a small conference room, but I'm fine with it. I think it's more efficient that way.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that we would use the meeting room spread out. It'd be a public meeting if someone wants to certainly come, and we really have not had a lot of people showing up for budget meetings.
Yeah.
The rooms are spread out here. Committeewoman Reski.
I like the idea of being here. If we need to, I don't think it would be awful if we had like the fire department come in by Zoom. If we can use this.
Are they coming in the first meeting?
No, the first meeting is
Yeah.
just us as an overview. The second meeting will be the fire companies and capital budget, so I've already spoken to them, we can limit it if they want to come, or we can do similar to a land use board application where we share the screen if there's something, obviously Chief Draymond is very familiar with that. And as long as they get me the information ahead of time, it can be shared.
Can we use that big screen?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'd prefer if everybody was here because like Gina said, we do lots of back and forth and there's lots of numbers. But if anybody's feeling uncomfortable, I think it'd be right to have those guys participate by Zoom.
Committeeman Stevenson.
Yeah, I agree. I think in person we get stuff done. It'll be easier. We did it earlier this year for that budget rework. So yeah, I mean, I think we got the blueprint. Let's just execute it.
Okay. And Committeeman Hickey.
Yeah, agreed. And if, we need to extend the hybrid model for the outside agencies to participate via Zoom, we got the technology to do it.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Sullivan, I think the meeting was originally noticed for Zoom, but if just.
It's noticed as a meeting in this room, and Zoom would be available for outside participants.
The thing is, if we do it here, we're not going to all be on this dais. We're going to be spread out across the room.
Then nobody's on camera.
Yeah, no one's going to be on camera.
We normally don't record those
Right.
budget work sessions.
So,
Well, people do Zoom on the phone anyway, so they wouldn't have to.
Not record.
Yeah.
all right, so let's just discuss and talk about the opportunity, because I don't think Zoom recording is not going to be reflective, because you're going to have folks who are not going to be on.
Absolutely. No, there's no recording for the budget work session.
Okay.
They can still join via Zoom and make a comment if, like, the fire company or a department head.
Okay.
It's a public meeting, right?
Yes.
So unless you notice it that people could come here, it has to be, doesn't it have to have a Zoom kind of thing?
That they want to, they need the invitation, we'll provide.
Okay. Is that it for administrator's report?
Yeah, just, we're starting next Monday, and,
What time?
that's all I've been working on for like,
Seven.
ramen and others. That's all I have.
Let's make the last one a good one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, discussion on introduced ordinances. We do have one ordinance to introduce, which is ordinance 2021, and ordinance amending chapter 13, entitled Land Management of the Township of Bedminster, section 13-502, Stormwater Management. And this is something I know that you've been working on with Paul Ferraro.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to just do a
I
quick.
provided everybody a copy of the letter from our engineer, Mr. Ferrell, explaining the need for this ordinance. NJDEP has amended NJAC 7:8 stormwater management with some wording that needs to be adopted by all towns to mirror those changes. So Mr. Ferrero helped me fashion those changes into an ordinance so we can, this will be introduced this evening. Then it will be forwarded to the land use board for their review, making sure that it is in compliance with the master plan, giving them time to do that at the next meeting on February 4th. And then it would come back to the township committee for adoption for the public hearing on February 16th.
Okay.
So a little bit longer than normal, but that's the process before any kind of a land management.
Okay, with that, may we have a motion to introduce ordinance 2021-001?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing of ordinances, we have no consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent agenda. Unless there's a request to remove one of the items off the consent agenda, may we have a motion to approve.
You want to read resolution 2021-22, that's the affordable housing.
Well, so we're going to read one of the items on the consent agenda. So this appoints, let's see, 2022.
And if I could just add, only today did we get the Cortland representative. So the final copy that the mayor will sign will include, on the copy that was given to you was to be determined. It was sent to us today as Lillian Gonzalez from Cortland.
Okay, so I'm going to make that change on my copy right here. So resolution 20, well, this should be 2021-22.
Yes,
So there's a typo on the
got that.
up there. So it does 2 things. It's appointing folks to Historic Preservation Commission. That's John Smith, who's returning to his position, Dan Ensign returning to his position, Alyssa Horowitz returning to her position. Those are all returning members. So this is for the next section is for the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. This is a new committee. These are 1-year appointments, so no one is returning. These are all brand spanking new committee. Okay. So the representatives from the Cortland Condominium Association for a 1-year term is Lillian Gonzalez. The Hills Highlands Master Association is Stracy Starasi or Starace. Hills Village Master Association is Deborah Taglieri. Hills Village North, Teresa Petrus. Parkside Condominium, Courtney Slack. Timberbrook Condominium Association from a low and moderate unit is Julie Hart from Timberbrook Condominium Association. Owner of a market unit is Nina Serta. Village Green, representative is Hope Funicola. Then we have resident at large positions, and these are actually appointed directly by the Township Committee. Mark Pfeiffer, and the other resident at large appointed is Carolina Villalba Fernandez.
Yeah.
Hopefully I did.
Villalba.
I didn't want to go with the tall elk. I thought, that might be presumptuous. So
Yeah.
Villalba.
Sure.
Was that all right?
That was really good.
Thank you, Gina.
Muy bien.
And then also from the Township Committee will be me and Committeewoman Moreski. All right, so those are the appointees. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Just do roll call vote. Everybody got blue. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
Ms. Bresky?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Aye. So the two matters on the consent agenda are approved. The next resolution is 2021-023, authorizing the execution of required agreements for the NJDOT Route 202 Bridge Replacement Project. Yes, please.
Oh gee, several months ago, we received a large package from DOT regarding the bridge replacement project on 202 by our First Aid Squad building. Contained a lot of required paperwork for their grants. They're getting some grant money to this project, federal grant money. And there was a lot of, Bedminster is not involved with any of the purchasing, but because it involved moving some of our sewer lines, we had to agree to the project and sign off on a lot of paperwork for it. A couple months ago, when we received the package, the mayor was reviewing it, spoke with someone in DOT, and some of the paperwork was no longer pertinent, and I think there was maybe a misunderstanding at some point. The mayor thought that the paperwork from Bedminster was not required, and I think you disclosed of the package.
Yeah, threw it away
You threw it out.
by disposing, yes.
So they continued to reach out to Paul Ferrer, our engineer, saying, you know, Bedminster, when are you going to return the required paperwork? And I said to Paul, well, there was some of the paperwork we no longer have to submit. He said, yeah, but there was some of the paperwork that we did. And so we reached out and said, can you send it to us again? They did. We have it. We reviewed it. And this is just they need a resolution saying that we approve the submission of that paperwork to get the bridge completed next year.
So what is the change of the paperwork? Because the Buy America program, and so my experience with the Buy America program, I've had to deal with it in my private practice. Buy America program was an initiative put forth by the federal government a couple of years ago that said, if there's a project that is moving forward with federal funds, there are requirements that before anyone can take advantage of that project, they have to sign on board that they agree with the Buy America program. And the way that program works, even if you're just doing consulting services or you're being reimbursed for administrative expenses, you still have to sign this form. In my own private dealings, where we've had to go back to DOT, federal US DOT, and say, what the heck is this? This doesn't apply to us. And in two instances, we were told, oh, yeah, you're right. It doesn't apply to you. And we got rid of that requirement. Get rid of your package. So for the road and bridge replacement, we're not touching this.
Absolutely. So on the forms we had, there was actually 3 boxes you could check. One of the boxes was, this doesn't apply. So we checked, this does not apply, but we still had to fill it all out, sign it with the Buy America program. We're not buying anything, but yeah, we still had to file that paperwork. They need that in order to get their grant.
So at this point, is this something that Paul has signed off on, or is it?
He went over with Robin and I, we reviewed everything, it can be signed by the clerk.
So this would authorize you or me or someone to sign it.
Right.
I'm okay with proceeding with the resolution, but I don't want to sign anything until I see the forms and I see what we're actually signing on to.
That's fine. Well, we're not sending it anywhere until you can.
Okay. So let's go around once again the proverbial room. Doug, your thoughts on the resolution?
Again, I think, Mayor, you hit the nail on the head. I have no problem with authorizing it with the caveat that we understand exactly what it is we're signing off on here. It sounds like it's a check the box of does not apply. And if that's the case, no harm, no foul. If it does involve us committing to something or certifying to something, then maybe we table and figure out what it is they're trying to ask us to sign off on, and let's drill down on it.
Right, and just for a little more context, traditionally was if let's say we were doing a major sewer infrastructure project, there could be an obligation that the sewer pipe that we were going to install, since we're getting federal money, would be American-made steel, American-made pipe. We're not doing anything here. We're just essentially saying, New Jersey DOT, we agree, you can replace the road. You were supposed to do it 2 years ago. But you may not do it for another 2, 3,
So we'll
4
hold it
years.
if you get a chance when you stop in.
Yeah.
and go over it.
Okay.
If you're coming in Friday for
A wedding.
a wedding, so we could do it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments regarding this resolution?
Just quickly, Mayor, do we have an opportunity like we did with the Rattlesnake Bridge Road project to provide input with respect to how quick they can commit to actually do the replacement? Obviously, that being a large, major thoroughfare for us.
We had that discussion with them 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
And a couple times.
Yeah. Multiple times.
So I just don't, just to bring us up to speed in terms of what their obligations or commitments are with respect to that.
Yeah, my understanding is that they're still proceeding with the term that I believe Mayor Parker used at the time. Instead of pulling the bandage off super slow and making us suffer through a year of road construction, we were the ones who actually proposed, stop, do it all at once. Don't try and play around with one-way traffic 1 week and then the other one-way traffic the other week, and then maybe we'll do this and that, and you're just going to belabor the problems. You're not solving anything. Just do it super fast. And if you do it super fast, how can you do it? Oh, well, really, let's go back and think about it. And they went back and they came back to us. Yeah, we might be able to do it in 4 to 6 months if we do it that way. We're like, okay, go ahead. And can you do this? Can you stage that 4 to 6 months during the time period that school is not in session for the summer? Yes, that would actually be prime construction season for us. We also at the time consulted with fire department and first aid. If the road is closed, will you have ability to service both Far Hills and Bedminster? Absolutely. So with that, that was the direction that we gave NJDOT. I am not aware of any change in that schedule or procedures that DOT would implement.
Music to our ears, right?
We'll see. And, this was a project that was, I believe, supposed to be done in 2019.
Yeah.
And
So Robin has
they're not there.
actually 2 meetings with the project manager on this, going over all the paperwork that I just discussed. So she's got it all packaged up. We can look at it Friday.
Okay.
Make sure it's compliant with what-
Okay. All right. So with that, any other questions or comments? If not, maybe a motion to approve Resolution 2021-23.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
We have a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Dickey?
Aye.
Ms. Nesky?
Aye.
Mr. Hernandez?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Please come in and sign your first report. That's for Doug.
What?
That's for you to come and sign your first report. There's a lot of them.
I'm just kidding, Judy. I heard you.
Okay.
Any items for new business?
I have one.
Yes.
I didn't come up as part of my subcommittee, so I didn't have an update, but it kind of sort of falls among that. Since last meeting, I attended a telephonic conference put on by the county where they're looking to roll out a marketplace. In our place where it's a sale, point of sale, I guess it could be, but it's really like, hey, we've got an extra mower. Does anybody want to rent the mower if you need one? And I know that, as we've gone through, budgetary items, and one of the things we were talking about is one of those little crack fillers, that as opposed to having to mill and pave stuff. So all of the towns from Somerset County, I'd say all, most of them, I would say, were on the call, universally well received. Forwarded some of the information. I think, Judy, we've got the application to sign up for that. It's going to take a little bit of time because they said they actually want to make sure someone's going through the application process, and it is just municipalities that are signing up right now. I asked whether there were plans to expand it to include like school boards and other governmental sources other than just TCs, if you will, or councils. And they said yes, but right now they're just going to slow roll it out to the municipalities. And it's live right now. I mean, they had advertisements for like administrators. They had it for equipment, for shared service of HR function or administrative function, which I mentioned. So it seems like it's all over the place. And it's an opportunity for us to also, try to put to use some of the equipment that sits around and doesn't get used here. So, looks like a very positive thing. And I hope that, we can all, it's like mini shared services, right? You're going to rent it and pay an amount of money or loan back some other equipment. So we'll see where it goes, but it looked really like a nice positive initiative.
Right. County Commissioner, not Freeholder, not anymore. Marana was the one who she'd been talking to some of the mayors on some of the early COVID calls about something that, she, a pet project that she wanted to move forward as the former mayor of Greenbrook, right? Greenbrook, I believe. Marana was?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's certainly something that she was sensitive to. Doug, is there anything that we need to do? Did we take any formal action?
Yeah, we've got to register. So I'll work with Judy, Robin to get that done. And then, like I said, it's going to take a couple days. And then once we're registered, they'll give us the info, how to post and how to, surf through it and see what's out there. So,
let's take a position that we don't need a resolution to do this, but let's just take a poll that we all support participation and moving forward with the registration. I'm all in for.
Great idea.
Hickey, yes. Anyone? Renee is saying yes. Doug is
favor.
yes. Gina.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Go ahead. Let's see what happens.
Super. That's my new business.
All right. Thank you. Any other new business? Seeing none, old business. COVID-19. We've already covered situations. Hopefully, there'll be some more updates on availability of vaccines. And, I would support some of the other things that we've seen about getting teachers in line to get the vaccine. Doug, I'm not sure if the school board has taken a position on this, but, it sort of makes sense because teachers.
They're essential workers for sure. I mean, they should be.
And the effects are cascading, right? Get the teachers vaccinated, get the kids back in school, allows the parents to work, maybe go to work. So there's a cascading effect and certainly be good to see, once again, Trenton try to fix some of the priorities that they've been stuck with, but we'll continue to track COVID updates as they come in. Pluckman Park, Ms. Sullivan, do we have any update on the
Doug and I
owners?
actually got an email today for some follow-up. We'll have to get back to the, I'll say the property manager for the development down there. They do have apparently a potential buyer. They'd like to talk about extending pilot. Talk about Doug and I will get back to him at some point.
Yeah, I didn't want to speak prematurely on it to folks, but I can sort of hint around that I did get some positive feedback on that. We just got to connect with these folks. The issue is that I'm not clear as to what their status is. They are not the owners of this property, so I'm a little bit hesitant to engage too much here. I want to make sure we have permission to be talking to them. So, it's more to come. There's definitely some a possibility that we can have a substantial development here, but I would characterize it as half-baked right now. So let's get it back in the oven.
Good. Okay. Thank you, Doug, for taking that on. JCP&L, any updates?
No updates, Mayor.
Okay, no updates. On to Township Committee comments. We do have an executive session. We'll be covering some personnel.
We're gonna do it a little bit different tonight by going into a breakout.
We're going to go into a breakout room. Okay, we are not scheduled to take any action. Therefore, we cannot take any action following the executive session. So we'll go through Township Committee comments. We'll go to our breakout room. We'll return. This is new. This is new. We're going crazy. We're going crazy. So if Jake Perry wants to stay online to see us adjourn or listen to us adjourn, you can do so. You don't have to, Jake. You have that option. So we'll run through Township Committee comments. We'll go to the breakout room, then return to this Zoom session, which will still be live and recorded, to adjourn and say goodnight. So let's start with Township Committee comments. Committeeman Stevenson.
I made a fairly lengthy comment earlier today. I'll stick with that, but I do want to say, because I didn't have the opportunity to after everybody else spoke, thank you all for your statements and for what you're, the message you wish to deliver. We all, I think, came at it from a little bit of our own angles, and I agree with what's been said tonight. And I just want to tell you that, it's a pleasure to serve with you folks, and thanks for your thoughts. I certainly appreciate hearing them.
Great. Thank you. Committee woman Mareski.
Oh. Doug, I agree with what you just said, but it does not surprise me that everybody gave their thoughts the way they did tonight. And I think that's why everybody is here serving Bedminster. And I just want to say I'm looking forward to this new year, serving with all of you and doing some really neat new projects for the town.
Great. Thank you. Committeewoman Fernandez.
I'd like to piggyback on what Renee said, not on Renee, and just look forward to another interesting year on Township Committee. By far, last year, my rookie year, was very, very interesting. So I'm sure that this year will be equally exciting. And I just want to congratulate President Biden and Vice President Harris on their inauguration tomorrow. And that's all.
Great. Thank you. Committeeman Hickey.
Pat and clean up, my colleagues have said it far more eloquently than I could have. So I'm in agreement, and thank you, Mayor.
Great. So thank you, everyone. Once again, Bedminster has better news for, more than we would expect for a little small town. Thank you all. And, your comments, just as Doug said, it is a pleasure and honor to serve with you. And I think that, every comment that was made today comes from the heart. And, it's really impressive that, no one up here is looking for political opportunism, right? We're all about one thing, Bedminster Township. That's it. And that's been our sort of our guiding star for years. And it was certainly at the beginning of the Trump presidency and all the way through. Our priority is Bedminster. The Township Committee has been resolute in that. Thank you all. Maybe a motion to go to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll see you there. Melissa, we'll see you there too.
So Judy will send invites, or do we just sit tight, or what do we do?
Sit tight.
Don't touch a thing, Doug.
Doug,
I'm going mute.
No, you're going to do something.
And certainly
You're
don't
going to
leave.
breakout room.
You had me and then he left.
Wait, why are we doing breakout rooms instead of just going to executive session? Is that a new thing this year?
That's how they did it in that RideWise thing.
Right.
It worked nicely, but I didn't know where I was going. All of a sudden, I'm just in this room.
Same here.
You get like an alert or something sometimes. But I mean, I use breakout rooms all the time, but I was just wondering why we're doing that now. Is that a new thing or?
I think it's because our college intern showed Judy how to do it.
Okay.
And we did it by Zoom meeting.
So this-
It was really cool.
So this was Mackenzie. Mackenzie showed you how to do this?
She showed me how to do it.
All right.
We did it at the gym meeting and it worked really well.
Now we still.
Well, we still have Jake. So we're not in the session yet.
Oh, Doug's not in it.
He's coming.
Okay.
I have to